Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 18th meeting of the Brentwood Rotary Club. For those of you visiting today, my name is Michael King, and I am the president of this club, at least if I can hang on and not pass out before the end of this meeting. Today's invocation will be given by Beth Dormany, followed by Jennifer Bourne with the pledge and four-way test, and I ask us all to keep Mike Walker in your prayers as he's mourning the loss of his dad from earlier this week. So, Beth.
Thank you. Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you and we come to you today with heavy hearts for the Mike Walker family. Also, we still continue to mourn with the Ray Little family and with the recent loss of Jane Covington's brother. We thank you for the way that you move in our lives. We thank you for this membership. I pray that you'll work throughout our professions this week, the way we reach out to one another. I also ask that you bless this food, that it would nourish our bodies, and thank you for all that you do for us in 2019. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. And I'm a nervous public speaker.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is it the truth? Is it bear all concern? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay. Our current part-time secretary, Keely Hall, is going to introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians.
It's good to see you all again. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year since I've seen you last. Greg Irvin has a guest that he would like to introduce today. Greg?
Thank you. I've got Jianxi Shang with me. Jianxi is over here from China, and he's just finished his Master's of Accountancy at Lipscomb University. He is now studying for the CPA exam and looking for and hopes to stay here, would love to stay here for a job in accounting with a bank or finance or anything in that world. But Jianxi, welcome.
And John Miles has a guest that we've never seen before, ever, that he's going to introduce.
Many of you know my wife, Marion, so here she is.
Susie Lindsay is our next member to introduce a guest.
Stand up a second. Y'all, this is Brad Hamilton. Brad visited with us last week, and he liked us enough to come back again today. He is the executive director at Warner Point and has recently moved here from California, so we're glad to have him with us today.
And we have a visiting Rotarian and guests. Our visiting Rotarians even bring guests here. So I am happy to introduce a downtown Nashville member, Dana McClendon. And Dana, would you like to introduce your guest?
My guest is my daughter, who does live in Brookwood, even though I'm in Franklin, Susanna McMillan.
And, Mr. President, this concludes our visiting Rotarian guests and esteemed, I don't know what, people that we don't normally get to see. Back to you.
Thank you, Keely. Okay, Susie Lindsay has an announcement.
By popular demand, we're doing another order for Rotary shirts. There's one on your table. You all got an email. So if you're interested in getting a Rotary golf shirt, they're dark blue or light blue. You'll see pictures of it on the order form. And the orders are due February 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. And Patrick Wright has a minute he wants.
It's here. The little Harvard cleanup is next Saturday. You've got sign-up sheets. Many of you have signed up. If you've already signed up, you do not need to sign up again. Had some good response, at least email traffic-wise and communication-wise for the scouts and interact groups and different organizations. Hope to have a good turnout. Weather does not look great right now in terms of temperature, but it does look okay in terms of precipitation. So we'll see how that evolves as the week goes on. But any help we can provide, continue to get the word out. You can show up as you all have done it before. The morning off is always a bit of chaos. It's always nice to have people to share the chaos with, so we get folks out on the trail and picking up trash. And again, appreciate your support. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so we had our continuing cornhole tournament this week, today. We had we were supposed to have two games today. The first one was between the La La sisters, Marlala Parsons going against She-La-La Cleveland. And in a nail biter down into the third match, Marlala beat She-La-La, and so Marlala moves on. Congratulations, Marlala. Our second game was between Chief Hughes and Larry Faust, and as if Chief Hughes needed it, Larry didn't show up, so he forfeited, and so our reigning champ gets to move on with perhaps the easiest match he's had. I'm sorry?
I was in my orthopedic surgeon's
Excuses, Larry. You saw who you were playing and went, "Ooh, I got a doctor's appointment." Okay, we got a bunch of thank you letters from one of the classes that we read to, and I'm not going to read them all. This one here struck me as really funny, so I do have to read this one. This one comes from Miller Kite, and it says, "Dear Rotarians, thank you for coming to the Buggy Backyard. Thank you for wasting some of your time." And then his teacher corrected it and put spending on top of it. "That was a great book, G-R-A-T-E. You picked out, P-I-K-E-D. I think Nathan wrote this, actually. You picked out, you have some great talents," from Miller Kite, but I just thought that was wasting our time reading today. Okay, we didn't do it last week, so we are going to do Happy Bucks, and then Alan Tremblay is going to lead the way in Happy Bucks.
Come on. Okay. Come on.
Push it up.
Okay. Come on.
No.
All right. There we go.
There.
Anyway,
There you go.
here's $1 for Kermit Davis. Y'all know Kermit from MTSU, and what a heck of a job he's done at Ole Miss. And, okay, this first table has got to be somebody. Larry, get your $1 out.
I'll do it.
You're toasting the government. Hello?
It's $1 for the spirit from the ladies from the cornhole competition. You guys are not able to see the emails that I do, but they're hilarious. And today they had 4 spectators here for their game. They look at got a sign with some dude on there that's in a tux. I mean, they have taken control of the cornhole. The guys have got to step it up.
There you go.
$5.
It is now 2019, which means this is Brentwood's 50th anniversary. I have stickers for anyone that wants one. The first event is April 13th, Maryland Farms. It's going to be a parade, 2 o'clock. The second event is June 15th. It's going to be Brent Fest at Concord, let's forget the name. Concord Park? Crockett Park, I'm sorry. And the Brent Fest is going to have food trucks, bands all day, from 3 to 9 o'clock, and kids area, and also a beer tent for adults to have fun. So those are the 2 major events. If anybody's looking to sponsor, wants a sticker, wants any more information, Michael Kaplan, you know where to find me. Thank you. Steve.
All right, here's $5 too. So I just wanted to present this to Michael. We got our awards from my year, so we were number 3 in the district for giving, only because smaller clubs
Wait until they find out what we're doing and then jack up their giving at the end.
So we did finish in 3rd place this year, and then also we received the Rotary Presidential Citation, and we also became a Star Club again, as always, and that just means we average $100 per member to the Rotary Foundation. So we achieve that every year. So I just want to present these to you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Give yourselves a hand. All right. Steve, he's taking your picture. Keeling? Right, I'm a banker, which means I never carry cash, so I'll ACH you $1 later. But thank you guys for thinking and praying for our family. My 12-year-old daughter had surgery last week at this time, and she's doing really well. She's a trooper. She's got an orthopedic condition, so this is her 4th one. But she's doing really well. We thank you. Thank you.
I've got $1 for you, Keely, so here we go. Take care of our bankers. That is for my 15-year-old son who delivered his Eagle Scout project to Genesis Learning Academy. He built a mobile STEM lab for Genesis Learning, which is a school for special needs children in South Nashville. he can't be here today, but when he finishes the paperwork and he officially has his eagle, I'll bring him in here. I'm very proud of him. He raised a lot of money. Sledgecraft down in Murfreesboro actually built it for him, but he oversaw a lot of that, from design to actually cutting boards and putting it together. So anyway, I'm very proud of him. And if you're Facebook friends with me, it's loaded with lots of pictures. Thanks. Thank you.
Abraham Lincoln was my wife. She started living 4 years ago at 56 years old, and she graduated summa cum laude, which I found out is Latin for now you're smarter than your husband. You're in psychology.
I'll tell you what, everybody, I want you to say hello to Brad when you come out, and he is a big Fresno State Bulldog, graduated from Fresno State. Congratulations in the bowl games. Speaking of bowl games, Bert, did you see that national title?
I was out of the country that day.
I tell you what, since Bert's a big Alabama fan, Bill, I'm going to put in $2 for both these guys. And Bill, you want to say something on Alabama?
No, I want to say something better than that. 58 years ago, come Sunday, I was able to convince Kay to marry me, and somehow she put up with me the last 58 years.
Okay. John, okay. There you go.
My turn? Yes.
Doc. Sunday, I and along and 16 other Rotarians from this district are leaving to go to Choluteca, Honduras for a electrification project that we've been working every year for 10 or 12 years. And thank you, Brentwood Club and BRCCF, for your donations that help get stuff done. We will probably wire and get the electricity on in 50 very humble homes.
Wow. There you go. Okay, who else? Anybody over here? Anybody? Jim Miller? You want to say something? Okay. Well, I guess that's it.
All right. Thank you, Alan.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh. How you doing today? This $5 is to help move you from the number 3 giving club to the number 1.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Alan. All righty. So, our one and only Chief of Police, Jeff Hughes, is going to introduce our guest, because apparently our guests think Jeff is his best friend.
Well, somebody had to be, right? I am here today to introduce Tommy Campsey, a man who needs no introduction. He spent a little better than 35 years in law enforcement here in Williamson County, with the majority of that at the Brentwood Police Department. And although he's been retired for almost 5 years now, or is it 5.5 years now, his name is still somewhat synonymous with the Brentwood Police Department. When you talk about the Brentwood Police Department, you think about Tommy Campsey, and rightfully so, because he earned that right. During that time, I've had the honor and the privilege to work with Tommy very closely. There was 10 years during that stretch that he and I were in the criminal investigation division, and we were partners, if you will. Locked up a lot of bad guys. They made a TV show about us. I don't know if you saw it. Any of you guys were around back in the 70s, 80s. Any older folks in here? Curry, you might. Jake, oh, sorry. Yeah, Jake and the Fat Man. Y'all ever see that show? Tim, I remember that. Yeah. No, it's my pleasure today to introduce my best friend, Tommy Campsey, and my partner in crime, if you will, to talk about Crime Stoppers. And also, Tommy, are you going to introduce Stormy that's here with you today? Okay. Tommy Campsey.
you guys doing today? Great to be alive in the great state of Tennessee. Before I get started, I want to introduce, I'm currently a sitting board member on Crime Stoppers, but I would like to introduce Stormy Mitchell. Stormy, will you stand? He's our current president on Crime Stoppers. So, start my clock here so I don't run over. It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to come home today, and I do call Brentwood home. I'm a fourth generation Nashvilleian, but I've been living in this county for the last 40 years, so I hope they've adopted me by now. But I worked for a short time, two years with the Metro Nashville Police Department. I left there and went to Franklin Police Department. I was there for about 10 months. And then I did 35 years and 10 months. I was 2 months shy of my 36th anniversary with Brentwood. So I have a long-standing relationship with the Brentwood Rotary Club. You guys are over the top when it comes to letting public safety officers know how you feel about us. For the longest time, you guys have hosted a picnic for the police department and the fire department. And I'm telling you, that small token of appreciation goes so much to the officers, line officers, and command staff. It just shows to them that Brentwood is a truly special place. And I don't mean like sometimes I'd go to training schools and I'd be in different areas and they go, "Oh, Brentwood." And I'd go, "Oh, Brentwood." We always had the support of this community. And I'll just give you a couple of illustrations of that. May 6th, 2002, Chief Tommy Walsh and Officer Stephanie Bellis were shot in the midst of a bank robbery at Bank of America on Franklin Road. There was 4 other people involved in that shooting, including myself. That day we were short of firepower. We were shooting at a guy with an AR-15 who had an AR-15 with a double clip. And the only thing I had on my side was a 40 caliber Glock. That was enough, thank the good Lord. But at the end of that, Ricky Watson, our chief, decided that we needed to do something different. That we had the willpower, but we didn't have the superior firepower that day. He appealed to the citizens of Brentwood, who the citizens turned out and started writing checks, not only for every officer to have an AR-15, but the 2 pallets of ammunition to get us certified and to go forward for that. You will be hard-pressed to find a community in the United States of America that supports its fire and police better than this city. And I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart, because you made not only my life safer for the remainder of my career. I didn't retire till 2013, but these officers that patrol your streets today utilize those weapons, and that's just what's necessary for today. So that's just one example. Another example is just like today when I came in this room, everybody, I'm so fortunate and blessed in my life to have good friends that come up and say hi to me. Cannot tell you how many times throughout my career I go and see people and they come up and say, "Do you remember this? Do you remember that?" Well, sometimes I don't, but I always remember your face, and I always remember the kindness and the support of this community. So I'm here today on behalf of Crime Stoppers. Stormy Mitchell called me last year and he said, "I know you're retired, I know you got things to do, but would you please consider coming back on board as a board member for Crime Stoppers?" For those of you who know me, Nathan Wilson and others, you can take the man out of the uniform, but you can't take the uniform out of the man. And so when Stormy called, all I could say was yes. So I'm here today with my hat in my hand, with my hand out. And I made a joke about getting you to be number 1 on your giving, but I am here. So please forgive me for that. Just to give you, let's get some boring statistics out of the way first. Since 1984, your Williamson County Crime Stoppers Board has paid out $109,719. We average about 34, I say we, the board, averages about $3,400 a year in paying out for crime tips. In December alone, this past December, we had 17 tips that came in to the Crime Stopper Board. For the year of 2018, we had 155 tips. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, you've heard the name Crime Stoppers, but you may not have a full understanding of what it is. What Crime Stoppers is, it solicits when Jeff and the guys have a crime and they are trying to find out leads and so forth and so on. They'll put these requests for leads out in the newspaper, social media, TV, any way they can, hook or crook, we get it out. And we implore the public to please come forward and help. Now, in days of old, I'm 63 years old. In my growing up, I remember when people did stuff out of civic obligation. But in today's world, money talks. And unfortunately, that's the system and the world we live in right now. But you know what? We've got an avenue for that. We've got a vehicle to help solve crime. If you look right here on the back of my head, that bald spot was from sitting at my desk a lot of times at Brentwood when Jeff and I were working crimes, and I would go, I wonder who in the heck did this. You know who did the work, Kurt. Hey, he set me up just like he done. Good work. But in all seriousness, I don't care how good of an investigator you are, you need help. During my career at Brentwood, I was fortunate, and I will say fortunate because we made the arrest in both cases. I worked a serial rapist for 14 years. I worked a murder case that was 9 years old in the Quicksack murder. A lot of crimes that tug at my heart. But Crime Stopper tips give us a way to help expedite solving these crimes. So in 2018, we paid out $3,075 for tips, but we had $1,000 that was unclaimed. People that called in and gave us tips, but didn't show up to get their money, which that baffles my mind, but I'm thankful because we still got the $1,000 extra in the coffers. But the way the Crime Stoppers operates, they see the ad or they hear about it on TV, they call our unlisted, not our unlisted number, our Crime Stopper number, and then that tip is received and it's disseminated to all the branches of the Williamson County law enforcement. Now, I'm here today talking to you on behalf of the Williamson County Crime Stoppers. We don't have a Brentwood branch. It's Williamson County. There are 5 jurisdictions. You got Brentwood, Franklin, Fairview, Nolensville, and Williamson County Sheriff's Department, who all need your help. And so you guys live all around. I know that you're Brentwood Rotary, but it's county-wide. Our county continues to grow, leaps and bounds. You guys know this better than all. You're in the business community each and every day. Talked about my years of service. When I started here, I think I was the 9th or 10th patrolman ever hired. Jeff's got 75 personnel now. Our county, this city and our county has grown leaps and bounds. And the way the crime goes in this county, very little of our crime is actually committed by our county residents or Brentwood residents. Criminals nowadays, in days of old, if we had a burglary out here, I knew probably there was 3 or 4 guys that were doing it. But with the invention of wheels, everybody gets a driver's license earlier, and they're able to go, got money, and they drive around everywhere. So very low percentage of our crimes are actually committed by our citizens, and Jeff will echo that. So because of this is what the reason that we need Crime Stoppers, and we need to keep this system going. Brentwood last year came out in a national publication that Brentwood was the safest city going, and that's incredible. It's a tribute to the police department. It's a tribute to guys like Jay and other people in the city, Brian, everybody that works hard to make this a desirable place to live, where everybody in the country wants to come to Williamson County and live, and especially Brentwood. But the one thing that has always separated Brentwood, Tennessee from everywhere else, just like that bank robber walking down Franklin Road with an AR-15 at 12:30 in the afternoon, are you kidding me? Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think something like that would happen in Brentwood. We're not immune to anything bad happening in Brentwood, but what separates Brentwood from the rest of the world is the frequency that it happens. So, just like last December, just a month ago, I start seeing all these news accounts, and of course I talk to Jeff at least once or twice a week, and I start seeing all the crime that unfolded in Brentwood. They had 3 bank robberies, 1 convenience store shooting, 1 murder, and it keeps going. But here's the thing, remember, I'm not trying to scare you at all. We're not immune to anything, and the month of December showed that. But the way this relates to Crime Stoppers is, let's look at those same crimes that I just mentioned. The 3 bank robberies were committed by a guy from outside of the Brentwood community, lived in Nashville. The convenience store clerk that got shot, the perpetrators that committed that crime were again from outside of Brentwood. The murder that happened in Brentwood, in Brenthaven, those 2 people were from outside this community. Because of who you are and what you are, it makes us sometimes a target for crime. I mean, you guys know, those that know me, I know I love to hunt and fish, and if you want to catch a fish, you go to a good fishing hole. Why go no slam on my fine folks from East Nashville where my grandfather lived? But why go to East Nashville when I can steal a TV that's 10 years old and don't have the remote? I can come to Brentwood and get the best plasma money can buy. You guys work hard, you prosper, and sometimes that attracts the negative part. But having said that, I want to pay Chief Hughes a compliment here, and my partners, all of my policemen that I served with during my career and the ones that are there now. They're top notch. The one thing that I was always proud of at Brentwood, being a Brentwood police officer, is our response time for every call ever made in the city of Brentwood during my career. The response time was less than 5 minutes. And Jeff, is that pretty close to? Where else can you go and get police service like that? I mean, it's because he tries to keep his manpower up, so the response times are down. But having said that, I'm talking about outside people coming into the city of Brentwood to commit crimes. Outside perpetrators require outside help, and this is where Crime Stoppers comes into play. If Jeff advertises all day long in the Brentwood homepage and Facebook and stuff like that for here at Brentwood, who shot the guy at the convenience store? Who did the bank robberies? You're not going to know. That didn't come from you. You got to solicit to people that are in a position to know. And so for that, Crime Stopper is the perfect vehicle. We put it out, and people, they will call. You need an attractant. I made an analogy about that fishing hole. We need a fish attractant. We need something to attract them, and that attractant is Crime Stoppers and money. Because everybody, you wouldn't believe some of the people that have called in for a $250 payoff. Stormy and I had last month, we had a grandmother that gave up her grandson for $250. Now the reason that case had a little twist to it, she had her own motivation. She was going to turn around, I believe she was going to turn right around and use the money for bond money to get him out of jail. So we didn't pay that one off. Sometimes you gotta have a little wisdom, you know what I'm saying? But Crime Stoppers is a very needed program. It's a program that I love from the bottom of my heart. There's nothing I love better. I dedicated my life to putting the bad guys in jail, making those people responsible. So let's go down. I've been talking now for almost 15 minutes. So I got about 10 minutes. I'm going to put the finishing touches on this. I'm going to tell you 3 quick war stories that relate directly to Crime Stoppers.
Jeff and I worked a case where it was, oh lucky me, I got the case. But we had a case where a man in Wildwood subdivision in Brentwood got shot. He got shot in the face with a 12-gauge shotgun from just outside the side window on his car. In the coming months, it took 9 surgeries just to repair his face to where he could breathe again. He lost half his nose, half his teeth, his chin, so forth and so on. Jeff and I didn't have a clue about that case. We put it out to Crime Stoppers that day. And by the next morning when I came into work, I had about 9 calls from the same woman wanting to tell us about the knowledge that she had. The perpetrators wound up going to her home after the crime was perpetrated, and she overheard a conversation between these 2 people about how that guy had to be dead. Nobody survives a 12-gauge to the face. And they were bragging about it. But this person picked up the phone because she saw it in the printed newspaper that we were Crime Stoppers and we needed a tip. Jeff and I worked on that case for about 3 months and finally wound up catching the man and woman responsible for that crime and sent them to jail. I would not have been able to make that case without her. She was a drug addict, and Jeff can tell you, it was my job to manage her and to get her presentable in court, get her head clear, get her cleared up enough off of dope to where she would be able to testify in court. That in itself was harder than solving the case. But you got to do what you got to do. Another case that we had, money motivates people in a different way. We had an armed robbery one time. I had a description of the guy, had a description of a getaway car. Here again, first thing I did, we put it out in Crime Stoppers. Put it out on the local news and the local news print media. And the next day I come in and my phone has got 4 or 5 more calls on it. So when I get to work, my lieutenant was tapping his foot. He was like, "Didn't think you'd ever get here. We got a hot tip." So I get there, and within 10 or 15 minutes, Jeff and I were saddled up. We were going to a hotel at I-65 in Trinity Lane. That hotel has since been tore down. But we got there, and it was so funny because when I called the lady back, when they call in to Crime Stoppers, you call in anonymously. Then when I talk to you, I give you a number, and that's your identifier number to let me know who I'm, you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously. That's the big thing about it. So for her to get her payoff, I had to give her a number, and then after we make the arrest, then and only then do we pay off, we give them the money that we've told them we'd give them. The great thing about Crime Stoppers is no crime has a specific amount. Obviously, we're going to give a lot more to someone that solves a murder than somebody that tells me about little Johnny selling dope on the corner of the street corner. So, having that in mind, what was funny though, I love working with Crime Stoppers. This case ended, I called this lady back, I give her number, and I'm like, "How do you know where he's at?" "He's my baby daddy." "He's my baby daddy, and he ain't paid his child support in 6 months, and I need that money." Sure enough, leave it to an ex-wife or a baby daddy to find out exactly where he is at any given time. She told me that not only did she know that he was staying at that hotel, he knew that he was with his girlfriend, and she gave me her name, that they were at this hotel room, and sure enough, when we got there, they were there. He still had on the clothes that he did the armed robbery, and the only thing in the hotel room was a dozen red roses he'd stopped by his girlfriend on the way to the hotel. So, Crime Stoppers is an unbelievable organization. They operate off of money. They need the money to give the tips. That's what makes the world go round. Getting back to Jeff and I'll end. The shooting where the young man lost his life in Brenthaven subdivision in December, Crime Stoppers board got 2 tips off of that right off the bat. We called Brentwood, and the girl had also called their
anonymous line as well, and so they already had the information. But what's essential about that is it was from a different caller, so it corroborated the information that they already had. I'm here today to ask that when it comes down to your time for your annual donations or your one-time gifts, I'm asking you to please consider Crime Stoppers. You can also, as individual, go on Crime Stoppers website, the donation line. Stormy can give that to you. You can make donations as an individual, or you can do it as an organization. I want to thank you for your time today. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being what you are. And that is good, honorable men and women of Williamson County and Brentwood, Tennessee. And I thank you for my career. I thank you for my retirement. And my grandchildren, thank you.
Go ahead.
I finished a little bit earlier. I should have asked, does anybody have any comments or questions that you'd like to ask me about Crime Stopper program? Or actually, I'll answer any question you want to talk about. So I don't know if anybody may have any questions. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. I needed to make sure that I give you the opportunity to ask me anything you want to know about.
All right, so please accept this as a token of our appreciation for speaking to us today. Be careful, it's a very coveted Brentwood Rotary pen. You know, so Crime Stoppers may come into play here because somebody will want to steal that from you. And then if you would, we waste our time reading to first grade students. And if you would autograph that, we will tell you about your coming to speak to us today.
I thank you so much, and I'll tell you, I know you one better. If you tell me when and where to show up, I'll go to the school and read the book to the kids.
All right. Well, we appreciate that.
Tommy, you have that AK-15 at the police department, right?
I'm sorry?
You have that AK-15 rifle at the police department.
An AR-15, yes, sir. What Curry's speaking of, you guys come to the Brentwood Police Department anytime if you haven't been there. What he's talking about is the rifle that I took off the guy that shot my two partners is hanging in the lobby of the Brentwood Police Department. Of course, the firing pin and the fire mechanism has all been removed from that. But that was a big day in Brentwood history, unfortunately. But it reminded of us, even though as we walk around here in the land of milk and honey and in Camelot, bad things can still happen to good people. So thank you, Curry, for that.
Oh. I've got a question. Yeah. How is Crime Stoppers organized? Is it a 501c3 or is it just a private organization?
Thank you for asking the question. Non-profit, 501c3. We get a grand total of about $700 a year funding from Williamson County. That's it. The rest of it, Tommy and I, we raise the money. So I mean, it's good. We appreciate any generosity that you have. The things we're paying out, we've noticed an uptick in the crime, obviously, and the needs are growing. And whatever you do, we would be very humbled to receive.
This is just one of many. Stormy and I have hoped to speak to a lot of different Rotary clubs and a lot of different civic organizations across this county because I cannot say how much this program means to the other jurisdictions as well as Brentwood. So it is a law enforcement tool, not just Brentwood. Yeah, Curry.
After that event, didn't we, as a Rotary Club, provide meals or take meals up for the...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this community turned out so much for Tommy and his wife, Gidget, and their children. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I tell guys all the time, I've been blessed by some of the kids in my church, some other people that I know, family, friends. Their kids will come up and they have these aspirations of being police officers. And every time they come to me, I advise them, it is like a calling. I can't imagine. My grandfather was a detective in Metro Nashville. Jeff's got a grandfather that was in law enforcement. If you've got public service in your heart, there is no better place on the face of this earth than Brentwood, Tennessee, in my opinion. I'm prejudiced as heck because I spent my career here, but you go to work in some jurisdictions and they never know your name. They never come up and shake your hand. They never acknowledge your presence, with the exception of, in today's world, to ridicule you. And if you come to Brentwood, you walk down, instead of stopping people that all they want to do is literally kill you and ridicule you and shame you, you come to this city where people are glad to see you. It is so refreshing in my career to ride through neighborhoods and actually see kids stopping and waving at a policeman. And I never, ever missed the opportunity to stop that car and to let them come over and shake my hand and look at the car and turn the lights on. In the same way with when I would go out and eat at a restaurant, I would hear, sometimes I would hear a parent say, "You better behave because there's a policeman over there. He's going to get you." That used to get on my last nerve. And I never, ever missed the opportunity to get up from my table and walk over there to that little man or that little girl and say, "No, I'm not. I love you. I want you. I'm here to protect you. If you ever need me, you call me." And you guys know it. You're all in the business industry. And you're all in this Rotary Club. You have a short window to make a difference in somebody's life. And sometimes it only takes 30 seconds to make it last a minute. And so I urge all of you to do that. I can't thank Brentwood enough. I gave a lot, okay? I admit. I sacrificed a lot. My wife can tell you. I got called out more times than I could imagine. There was a time in my career where Jeff and I and another guy were the only 3 detectives in Brentwood. I was on call every 3rd week. I'd get called out 2 or 3 times a night. Sometimes I'd be on investigations. You don't know where the lead's going to take you. And you got to stay on the lead till it either plays out or you make the arrest. I'd be gone sometimes 48 hours from my house and not talking to my wife or whatever because the trail was that hot. But you just go with the flow and what you have to do. Nathan, did you have something?
2 things, a comment and a question. The comment is, anytime I have an opportunity to interact with a Brentwood police officer, I always get around to, "Hey, you know Tommy Cancer?" and they always break into a huge smile and share in real time their love and admiration for Tommy Cancer.
Yeah,
I still get the ticket. The second part of this is a question I'm asking for a friend. Do you know anyone who currently has connections to Chief Hughes that could approve someone for the Citizens Police Academy?
Oh yeah, we can get that done for you. That's no problem. Yes, sir.
Tommy, you mentioned this club's sponsorship of a public safety officers appreciation event. You'll be glad to know that the planning for the next one is already underway. And the tentative date, as Ron and Jeff and Jay Evans know, is Thursday, September the 12th.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yes, sir.
I got a ticket the other day.
I want to go back just a second. Something Nathan said I always found funny. I'd be walking around the police station, especially after I started moving up the ranks, and one of our new officers had come to me and he goes, "Hey man, I met a friend of yours the other day. I gave him a warning." I was like, "Oh, good grief." I said, "What was his name?" And he'd tell me, and I said, "Okay, you're new at this game. From going forward, most people don't realize, or they don't think about it like this, but every policeman only has their last name on their name tag. So people that I may have taken a theft report from or whatever, they'd go, 'Hey, I know Kempsey.' And so I'd tell these new recruits, I'd say, if they're a friend of mine, because you never know whether they are or not, I'd say, ask them if they know my first name. If they know my first name, odds are they're doing it. Yes.
I just wanted, just for the rest of the club members that are newer, I think it's been 2 or 3 years ago, Tommy was our Citizen of the Year for this club, so he does have a good connection here. And you can also, I think, go on YouTube and see you arresting George Jones, I think. So
yeah, but that was like catching fish in a barrel. I wasn't. I've got a lot of accomplishments, and it was a lot harder than arresting possum. It was an interesting story, though. It was funny. Obviously, I knew who he was, but I didn't know that that's who I stopped until I pulled over behind his car, and he had a cardboard license plate in the back window of that Cadillac, and it said possum on it. And I said, "You got a registration?" He said, "No, I just bought that thing." So anyway, that was a heck of a night. I caught 2 armed robberies in progress. I was involved in 2 shootings on the job. Both of them were in defense of myself and my partner. A lot working the serial rapist for 14 years, and me finally getting my hands on that sucker. I mean, I have a lot of accomplishments that I'm proud of. But that George Jones arrest, man. People don't remember anything else. They remember me and George. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you very much, Tom. We appreciate it. Stormy, thank you for coming. If you would help us put the tables and chairs back, as always. If there is nothing else for the good of Rotary, we are adjourned.
So loud.
As long as
What?